And so this is a group that you can really open up and be totally vulnerable with about, decisions you're trying to make, flaws you feel like you have, shortcomings in the business, things that you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't pay the taxes right. Is that illegal? You're like, yeah. And it is so important when you're running a business to have a person, a mentor, a group that you can lean on with that kind of stuff, because it can be lonely trying to make those decisions by yourself. So I hugely valuable tip for anyone listening.
Yeah. I know one of their kind of core pillars is that you need to get naked fast. And I think as a lot of entrepreneurs, if you're kind of maybe in a social setting, you might maybe embellish a little bit. Yeah, sales are great. Everything else in the business is great. But when it really comes down to it, usually there are some underlying issues, and maybe there's something that's in your way. And but to be able to be a little bit more vulnerable and have someone else kind of share their experience that might actually help you to be able to solve your own issues. And usually most of these entrepreneurs, they're maybe just a couple of steps ahead of you, and they've likely gone through similar issues, similar tribulations, and it's been really, really helpful. It's clearly a lot of information and lessons that aren't just taught in your basic education, college. Right. There might be some of this type of learning experiences during an MBA, but I found that this has been an awesome experience so far.
Yeah, I agree. It's unlike anything else because, people, friends, or even other business acquaintances on the outside, a lot of times they only see the highlights because a lot of people will just post like the great news and stuff like that on LinkedIn or wherever else. And so from an outside perspective, you may bump into someone and say, man, it seems like you're crushing it and everything's going well. But you don't know that if we're getting evicted, or the biggest customer just canceled, or somebody just quit the business, and like these things that happen internally that just cause tons of personal stress and turmoil. It's really helpful to have other people to lean on and say, like, have you ever experienced something like this, and learn from what they've done. So I agree. It's an amazing kind of thing, and it's a cool journey too. I remember when I first found out about that program in 2008, 2009, my college professor was a chapter president for EO in the Boston area. And so he told me about this program, and Accelerator was really new at the time. And he said, you should apply for this. And I didn't yet qualify. And so for me, it was a goal to get into EO Accelerator, which I think the threshold is 250,000 in sales?
Yep, correct.
And so that was a big goal for me to get to that point. And then after that, it's just like, you can see now, all right, now I see the next goal.
Yep. No, it's not obviously, but with the EO Accelerator program, you're kind of below, you're slightly above 250. And the goal is really to kind of lean on everyone else's experiences to hopefully be able to get above the $1 million threshold. And then at the $1 million threshold, you would apply, or you would be eligible to be able to join EO, and which, Chris, you're in EO. So maybe you can, I'm not in EO yet. So maybe you can even kind of talk about that too, of what they might be able to experience after graduating from EOA.
Yeah, so I'll say it's very different. First of all, one of the facilitators we had in my accelerator program, he made it crystal clear that the goal of Accelerator is not necessarily to get you above 1 million, but it's to show you what it takes to be above 1 million and let you make the choice. And I thought that was a powerful statement, because not everybody wants to have a business that has, 10, 15, 20 employees, that is, doing what, operating at that level of a multi-million-dollar kind of company. A lot of people just want to have their lifestyle business that pays them really well personally, and they make $500K a year in profit, and they spend all the time with their kids. And it is totally okay to go in either direction. So I that was a lesson I learned in Accelerator. For me, the journey of trying to get to 1 million, I feel like I went about it all wrong at the beginning. Like, I was trying to cobble together any sales, any dollars I could get, because in my head, 1 million was the finish line. I was like, if I can get X number of clients to pay me this dollar per customer, I'll take 5K here and 10K here and 15 and 1K here and 2K, $500 for this random thing here. And I was just like in a constant cobbling mode, trying to get to that million. And one of the mentors that I had said, you know, a million's not the finish line. That's just like, it's like a milestone. You need to have a business that doesn't just grow at all costs to $1 million and then implode. You need to have one that can grow way past $1 million. That's how you get to $1 million, is by unlocking what's going to take you to 3, 5, 10 million. And it was so insightful for me. So when I finally got into EO, it's a lot different. It's more like forum specific, where you're leaning on the experiences of others, and it's less educational. I actually think that EOA's curriculum around the fundamentals of a business is something that every EO person should be forced to go through, because I feel like now growing through EO, and I'm in another group, YPO now, I feel like I've just been applying so much of the stuff I learned in EOA or Accelerator that are the fundamentals that a lot of EO members skip over because they don't apply to the organization until they're over $1 million. So I recommend this for anyone to go through those kind of fundamentals. EO members are actually allowed to attend the EOA learning days that you mentioned. Just so few of them do. So anyway, that was my experience. It's probably longer winded than what you were looking for.
Yeah, no. And I think you actually brought up a really good point. It sounds like maybe, I don't know if you pulled this from one of like the strategies days, but that was one of my bigger kind of takeaways, is that when I first started the business, I really kind of started to, I mean, I've got a sort of a diversified background. I started in investments. I then kind of worked my way through kind of my dad's operations. And when I first launched the business, I started to do way too much. I was trying to be like the master of everything, which like ultimately you become sort of the master of none. And so trying to basically just try to collect sales in every single way. And you could probably almost relate it to, maybe even like a roofer who could do like all of these other probably HVAC and other types of type of services, but it really does benefit you to get very refined in your strategy and figure out what your niche is, what you do best, and really trying to be able to standardize all of your operations and around that specific niche so that you can become really, really good at one single thing. So you're really just trying to dig as deep of a moat as possible within that one specialty so that you can really hit on and be able to target that entire market. And so that's something that I really learned throughout this entire EOA experience, and from one of the actual, I believe it was the strategy day, that I kind of became a little bit more refined with that and trying to eliminate some of the services or solutions that didn't make
elimination. Yes, addition through subtraction.
Exactly.
That's it. I probably don't talk about this enough. One of my favorite books I ever read was this book called Focus: The Future of Your Business Depends on It, by Al Rice or something like that. And so, great book for anyone that's listening. They tell all these stories about how you can overload people with choice. You know, that when you walk through the supermarket aisles and there's like 100 flavors of Cheerios or something, it actually makes you sell less of each of the Cheerios. And you can apply these simple marketing kind of lessons to any services business in particular, I think, because we're all tempted to just serve people. You know, we all want to customize and do things a little differently so that we can serve the widest number of people possible, rather than, like you suggested, making that moat, making that focus, the niche, and saying, this is what I do really well. I'm going to do this thing deeply and just get tons of these customers. So I think that it's a huge thing to unlock, to grow through and past that $1 million mark.